Everybody. I'm Jenna, the Client Services Director and Marketing Director at Kuhn& Law, and today I am joined with Kate Landis, the owner and founder of the Landis Agency. Um, Kate, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so
Uh,
much for having me, Jenna. I appreciate it.
yeah, of course. Could you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about a little bit what you do at the Landis
Yeah.
Agency?
One of the things that we do at the Landis Agency and who I am, so we are an insurance agency that we opened in June of 2020, so right in the height of the pandemic. And I wanted to have a career that actually made a difference and provided people with comfort, protection, and peace of mind. And I didn't know how I could have a career that helped people, but also made a difference that could provide an income for my family. And so when this opportunity came about and popped on my radar, I knew that I wanted to have an agency that wasn't just about a piece of paper. It was more than just a piece of paper in your glove box. We founded our agency on a few core principles. We are highly client focused. We put our clients' needs before anything else. I work with a team of very driven individuals that are 100% invested in our communities and taking care of our clients and making sure that the business is here to take care of them in the future. We really focus on empowering our clients to make the right decisions with education and knowledge. A lot of times when I meet with people, I learn that they know nothing about insurance and they just went onto a website, clicked a bunch of buttons, and now they have a piece of paper, but it doesn't do what they think it's supposed to do. And we lead with compassion. People have life happens moments, and we have the pleasure of walking alongside them. And that's really important to us that we're there when things happen so that we are able to be there for our community as well.
Awesome. Speaking of when life happens, are there anything like that specific milestones or changes that should trigger somebody to call you and get an insurance review and change their policies possibly?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of times insurance is one of those things, as I'm sure you can relate, being an estate planning attorney,
Mhm.
they think that they can just set it and forget it. And that's just not true. There are many milestones that people should reconsider their insurance. Um, Obviously, big ones, moving out of the house for the first time for a young person, getting married, having children, buying a new house, remodeling a house, excuse me. I actually had a client who put on 900 square feet to their home and didn't tell us for 2 years. And they're like, why does it matter? And I'm like, oh, we were insuring an 1100 square foot house and you now have a 2000 square foot house. So you want to get that updated because you want to rebuild what you just invested a decent chunk of your income to building. So those are just a few of them. Other milestones that we encourage people to review with their insurance advisor is if they do come into an inheritance, how does that impact their exposure? If they get a promotion at work, um, income generation is great. And so is being able to leave assets to heirs, but it does impact their exposure to litigation and things like that. And my job is to just help them know what that exposure is.
Awesome. Um, you talked a little bit about like people remodeling their house and um, that set it and forget it type of thing where they're just putting on the shelf and not thinking about it, which we see all the time. People coming in with 20-year-old estate plans and they don't work anymore, and their kids are mentioned as being three in the trust, and now they're 30. Um, but what are the most dangerous risks of somebody just setting and forgetting it that you have seen?
That is a really good question. There's a couple of things that are two that really stick out to me, especially within the last 5 years. We've seen a tremendous increase in the cost of rebuilding homes. And a lot of people are like, why does my insurance keep going up? Well, it's because the cost to rebuild that home is going up exponentially, and we have to be able to rebuild that home. And that would be a serious exposure that people have is not having a review with their insurance provider. One of our friends actually, their home burned down in 2021 and they never
Mm.
reviewed their policies with their agent. And they were grossly underinsured because the cost to rebuild their home was greater than what the insured amount was for. And so they had to get out an additional mortgage just to rebuild what they had to the level that they had it because the costs are just very crazy. And then the other, from a liability and asset protection standpoint, we have clients who have significant income, significant assets saved. And one of my clients was in an accident where they were at fault and someone was in a coma for 7 months and they were litigated against and they did not have an umbrella policy. And in their review, we talked about why it's probably appropriate for them to have one, given their income and their other assets, 401ks, stocks, savings, all of that, and they decided that they didn't need it at that time. And unfortunately, they did get sued, and Farm Bureau paid out the highest limit possible to them that they opted for insurance on. And then they ended up having to pay out of pocket with wage garnishment for the balance because they didn't have enough insurance in place to cover the asset level that they were at. And I think a lot of people look at insurance, a car is covered, and that's great. But I always tell people your car is replaceable, but your 30 years of savings that you've accumulated over your lifetime, most people don't have another 30 years to rebuild it to that level.
Right. And kind of thinking about what people are building. A lot of business owners, they want to leave a legacy. Can you talk a little bit about kind of building the right insurance strategy to protect a business and that legacy for it to live on past?
Yeah, so I think an often overlooked area of business insurance, specifically from a legacy standpoint, we can cover general liability. So if there's any slips and falls on your property and things like that, it's covered. But oftentimes, the business owners that I've met with, they don't have a succession plan in place. So
Mhm.
they might have more than one child. How does the protection, how does the business transfer to the children if only one child wants to buy it? How do they buy it out? Is there monies there for the child to be able to afford to buy it out? And how do we make the other child whole, if you will, and have it equitable? Um, a very simple solution to that is making sure that we have life insurance policies in place that if one child is able to keep the business, the other child is given a life insurance policy to offset those things. And those are discovered in great conversations with someone like Rose and your team at Kuhn and Law, because when you know what you want to have happen, you can actually craft an insurance strategy around how to make that happen and happen equitably for your legacy. The other thing that I've noticed in people's partnerships, especially, is what happens when one of the partner passes away and the other partner is still alive. They assume that they're going to be just taking over the business. Well, that's actually now an asset to the heirs of that business partner. And if there's not a plan in place to purchase the business from the heirs of that other business partner, you've now handcuffed yourself to someone who may not know anything about your business. Specifically, I have a client who is they have a therapy office, and the spouse would know nothing about running a therapy clinic and offering those services. And if they don't have a buy sell agreement in place, they will become business partners just because of the passing of the other partner. So it's really important for business owners, especially those with partnerships, to have a plan. What does it look like if you don't make it home tomorrow? How can we ensure that the business gets to continue to grow? And also, how do we maybe keep the other spouse or children of the other partner outside of the purview of the business?
We had a client once, it was a probate, and mom owed a business with a couple other people. It was like a rental. They had real estate, um, but nothing was in place. Nothing was in the operating agreement. And then the kids, there was probably five or six of them, all ended up owning the business with all of mom's business partners. So that is super important, not only with the insurance side, but making sure operating agreements and everything works together with that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's our goal, right? As business owners, it isn't something that's just in our heads when we create a temporary thing. It's something that can either create a legacy for our family or create
Mhm.
something that our family can enjoy the benefits of the labor that we've lovingly poured into the businesses that we create.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. How can people contact you, contact your office?
Yeah. Obviously, please follow me on LinkedIn. You'll learn a lot about the agency and the things we're doing in the community. I have a website. It's very creative, www.thelandisagency.com. And then please definitely call or text us at 616-301-3146.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kate.
Thanks, Jenna. Have a great day.
Yeah.